man, you caught me. I was adjusting something. All right, it's time. It's the end of the week. That means it's time to run it back. We are Peach Basket. We are a show dedicated. We're actually a site, rather, dedicated to NBA basketball. It's what we do. It's what we enjoy. It's our passion. We are a group of fans that enjoy the game. And there's nothing better than getting together with fans and talking basketball. That's what we do. Our show's called Run It Back, NBA Week in Review. We are a little biased in that we really take a look at the teams that we follow. We cover right now. We've grown quite a bit over the last few months. Daniel's been with me for most of that time. We started with Lakers Clippers, then we just kind of slowly grew and grew and grew. We're covering almost half of the NBA now, and the goal soon is to cover all of them, every single team. My name is Jose. Daniel is with me. Nick is with us. Nick is a new contributor from DC. So we are really going coast to coast today, which is kind of cool. We got a few things to talk about. We're going to talk about LeBron James because, how do you talk about the NBA without talking about LeBron? Talking about LeBron. We're going to talk about the three-point shot and an interesting article. I got a banner going up there. I told you guys, I knew I was going to mess something up. The banner down there doesn't need to be there. I'll fix that, but I'm going to keep going. Three-point shot. Is it ruining the NBA? Interesting article I read. We'll talk about it. Then we're going to rate the MVP contenders. I'm going to ask each of these guys what their thoughts are. I'm going to give you mine. And then we'll talk a little bit about the All-Star game. So before we get going, let me give each of you guys a chance just to say, hey, and ask you, I want to ask you this kind of pointed question because I assume you guys watched the game. The Lakers and Heat just played first time since the NBA Finals. There was certainly a lot of hype around that game. The Heat won in a game that I didn't think it was a great game, but it was an entertaining game at least. But I think it was great. And it came down to a last-second shot that Alex Caruso missed, but the Heat won it. Interesting because the Lakers have got a rough road ahead without AD. The Heat seem to be maybe turning the corner and are going to get good. Why don't you all just kind of, tell us who you are, whatever you want to share about yourself, and give me your images, your impressions of the game tonight before we get into the topics. Daniel, go ahead.
My name's Daniel. I write about the Celtics. I've been a Boston fan for the majority of my life. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I didn't watch the game until the fourth quarter, and down the stretch, it was definitely interesting to watch. It's good to see Miami play a little bit better, but they're still out of the playoffs as of right now. They make the play-in, but they still need to be better. And the Lakers, it's a little worrisome at the same time, they are without Anthony Davis, so you can't read too much into it. But they have lost 2 straight games that they probably should have won. So, yeah, that's all I have about that.
Right on. Yeah, no, the fourth quarter was it. The rest of the game was, again, I think choppy. It wasn't an entertaining game, at least not to me. Nick, what did you think? Did you watch the game?
Yeah, I watched it. I'm Nick. I'm from DC, of course. I'm a Celtics fan too, a long time. And in terms of the game, I watched it. I just think LeBron has to take that shot.
Right.
I know they kind of like they showed 2, but I think he has to take that shot. But it was a very choppy game. It was entertaining, but I think that you can't put that game you can't as the star. You have to take that shot, and I just think it was the correct play, but you gotta take that shot.
You see, and that's the tough part of being a LeBron, a Kobe, a Michael Jordan, right? When you're those kind of players and you take the shot when you got 3 or 2 people on you with your teammate open, everybody says, why didn't you pass it? You know what I'm saying? But you pass it and they miss it, then they go, you should have shot it. It's tough. I agree with what you said at the end there. I think it was the right play. Caruso was open. Yeah. And I think that was, it was the right play, but you hate to not have your best player take the shot to win it. But I think it might have been a little different if it was a finals game or something, as opposed to just an NBA regular season game.
And it's like, I'm sorry. It's like, I think last year it was game 5, I think, when Danny Green. Okay, that's the finals. There is no reason you put the game in the hands of he's a role player.
Yeah.
Especially in the finals. You have to take that. Yeah. So I was kind of tough with that too.
That's a good point. All right, Nick, never correct me again. I didn't like that. Okay. If I'm wrong, just send me a little chat.
Oh, wait. I'm
kidding. I'm totally kidding. You're absolutely right. I forgot. Game 5 came down to a Danny Green, and he was wide open.
Yes, he was
a wide open 3, and he missed it. You're absolutely right. Yeah, that's funny. No, good call. Good call. No, I agree with you. I just think it's a tough position for those superstars to be in for sure. But speaking of superstars, let's start with LeBron. He has been in the NBA for 18 years. He's playing phenomenal basketball. I want to give you a story I shared this afternoon. Something I never really gave much thought to, but I think when the Lakers got him, this is his 3rd season, right? His 3rd. When they first got him, the goal, right, was for him to come in and mentor and grow the young core, right? Lonzo Ball, Jordan Clarkson, these guys, the kids that were, drafted and the hope was LeBron can kind of lead him to the promised land. I don't think the Lakers ever thought he'd be this good 3 seasons later. I just don't think so. I think the hope was that he would mentor. Now, what the Lakers did is they took that young core and they got rid of him. And they brought in AD and everything changed. So I think it's kind of interesting. LeBron has had to remain great, and he's remained great. It's amazing what he's doing. Absolutely phenomenal. But the key thing we want to talk about is he kind of hit 2 key milestones over the last week. And we're cheating a little. We usually just cover the week. We're going 2 weeks back because last week I had some technical difficulties and didn't get to talk about some of this stuff. So I want to talk about it now. But first thing he did is he became the NBA leader in turnovers, which is kind of funny. He is really the last half of his career. I think he's been a de facto point guard. At the start, he really wasn't. So he handles the ball a lot, which it makes sense. You're going to turn the ball over sometimes, but he is now the NBA leader in turnovers. What's interesting to me about that, the top 5 are LeBron, Karl Malone, Moses Malone, John Stockton, and Kobe Bryant. Only one of those guys was a full-time point guard his whole career, and that's John Stockton. The rest of these guys are kind of, bigs, which is interesting to me. I would expect to see, point guards up there, but it's not, aside from John Stockton, who played 18 years. So that's number 1. And then number 2, more recently, February 19th, he became the 3rd NBA player to score 35,000 points, putting him 3rd, which is really, really interesting because you got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, in my opinion, the GOAT. We can save that conversation for another time if you want, but that's who I think is the greatest player who ever played the game. Karl Malone, then LeBron, then Kobe, and then Michael Jordan. So what I want to ask you guys is this. He's playing phenomenal basketball at 36 in his 18th season. Do you all think, like I do, that the Lakers are surprised by this, weren't expecting it? Maybe I think the only person who expected LeBron to be doing these things is LeBron. I don't think anybody else expected it. So let me start with you, Daniel. On the scale of 1 to 10, how surprised do you think the Lakers are that they got this kind of quality play out of LeBron in this season?
I'd say the Lakers, 10 being really surprised, 1 being not so surprised.
Yeah,
probably like a 4.
Okay.
I think there was a huge chance that when he signed with LA, that could be the quite literal Hollywood ending for his career. But like he's also said throughout his career that he wants to ultimately end his career playing with his son potentially.
Right.
But he's LeBron, and after last year, like people knew like this is probably going to continue for at least a couple more years. He's basically, in my opinion, I mean, I'm wearing a Patriots shirt. He's basically the Tom Brady of basketball. You think he's going to struggle. He signs more deals, and it's like, all right, that's the last one. And he keeps on playing to MVP levels. And it's just not going to end anytime soon, in my opinion. The Lakers obviously love it. And like you said, when they traded their young core, the franchise took a complete turn of, all right, we're going to develop these guys and maybe make the playoffs year 3, make make the conference finals year 3 or whatever. And they said, nope, we're going in all in. Lakers win the championship. LeBron looks like, I mean, who knows what he's going to do after his contract expires. Actually, no, didn't he sign a contract extension? I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So he's there for a while now. But yeah, I don't think they're that surprised because there was a real chance that he would have went down, but it's LeBron, so nothing really shocks anyone.
Yeah, no, agreed. He's got 2 years left, which coincides with his son graduating high school and being eligible for the draft. He'll be a free agent when his son is eligible to play in the NBA if he can. And let's hope he can. It'd be great to see it. Nick, you're up, man. What do you think? How surprised do you think the Lakers are that they got this LeBron this season?
I think for everything that he just told us, I think they're very surprised, like I am too. He's 36. He's played 18 seasons. He's had wear and tear every year. He's gone to the finals, 10 of 11 times. That's a lot of basketball, and he's just not slowing down. Yeah. And it's just like, I'm surprised that he's still the same player or even better because his passing has gotten better. It's just his scoring has gone down just a tad, but he's still the same player. Yeah. And it's like, how long is he gonna continue this? I don't know, but he doesn't seem to be slowing down, and I'm very surprised that this in his career he's still the same player. So he's got all the props.
100%. I will probably regret telling you guys this, but I'll tell you. I went outside one time. I got a basketball court in my backyard, and I figured, I'm just gonna go out there and see what it's like to hoist up 35 shots. Move around a little bit, take 35 shots. Man, I got to like 20. And I'm huffing and I'm puffing. I'm not running. I'm not playing defense. I'm just taking shots. And I'm like, man, I'm tired. So the level of conditioning that this guy has got to have is unbelievable. Honestly, staggering.
The reports are he spends like millions and millions of dollars on his body every year.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm just a tick under $1 million. That's the problem. I'm like at 999,000. That's why. All right, let me ask you guys this then. I'm gonna go ahead and pull myself up here again. I'm having fun with this. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has got the most points in NBA history. He was amazing. He was a flat out incredible basketball player. When he broke that record as a Laker, there were plenty who thought, it wasn't going to be broken. It was not that it was unreachable, but it was going to take some time. It's taken some time. But now LeBron is at the end of this season, if you just kind of assume he's going to score, he scores roughly about 1,500 points a season over the last few. There's been some seasons he scored 2,000 points, of course. But he'll be roughly about 2,600 short, which means that's about a season and a half. He's got 2 years left. It kind of makes sense. Barring injury, do you think he could be the all-time leading scorer in the NBA? Daniel, what do you think?
Hands down. I think it's written in stone already. And he's not just to become that. He's going to have a sizable lead after he hangs them up. Because like we said, he's going to be here for a couple more years. So it's not, like you said, it's 2 years until he catches up. He's got probably like 4 or 5 years left in him. So he's going to lead. He's going to be playing for a while. That's just my thing. But also, you never know. He could just get tired of this, and he could just want it because he could do greater things other than basketball. But I think it's written in stone that he's going to break this record.
Yeah, he could pull a Michael Jordan and go play baseball or something. Who knows? Yeah, hard to disagree with that. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, 2 years plus the playoffs. It's I don't see any yeah, this is in stone. He's probably gonna have about like 40,000 points, and because he's like I said, he's not slowing down. I've expected him to slow down a couple years ago, like 2 years ago, but athletically, he hasn't gone anywhere. So it's amazing to me.
No, agreed. I agree with both of you. I think it's etched in stone. I think it's done. I think it's going to happen, and it'll be really interesting and a real testimony, I think, to the Lakers. Right? They'll have LeBron, who they'll claim as his own, as their own. Kareem, Wilt played for the Lakers, of course. He's up there. And Kobe. All right, interesting. LeBron's had an interesting week, good and bad. Also interesting this week, a gentleman. I don't want to give this any more publicity than it needs, but a gentleman 2 weeks ago now wrote an article where he called the 3-point shot the Frankenstein's monster. He said the NBA's got a Frankenstein monster problem. I've heard this kind of stuff before. But I read the article and I was just kind of intrigued. It was really well written. He made a very interesting point. I want to read one snippet of it, and I want to tell you guys one other thing he said, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. He said this: last week, the Warriors at Mavericks, the teams combined to take 93 three-pointers, which is a lot. That's a lot. Advertised as a professional basketball game, it took all the planning and strategic genius of feeding a pen of hens. I don't know exactly what that means, but I think he was trying to put the teams down. Feeding a pen of hens. It wasn't a game. It was real life satire, a goof with many more to come. He was just blasting it. He basically didn't like it. And this is the point he said that kind of resonated with me a little bit. He said, when you think of the all-time greats, when you think of Wilt Chamberlain, Magic Johnson, Dr. J, Larry Bird, you guys are Celtics fans, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, Dennis Johnson, when you think of those guys, you don't think of them hoisting a shot up from 35. You just don't. You think of Larry Bird shooting the ball from the corner within or, close to the 3-point line, but not always, making really amazing passes as he drove to the hoop. Magic obviously doing his thing. And this guy was making the point that you didn't think of the greats taking 3-point shots. He said basically that the NBA 3-point shot is ruining the NBA. It was an interesting article. I sent it to you guys. I don't know if you got a chance to read it. It's not a long read, but it's an interesting one. I just want to get your thoughts. When it came out, it was controversial. And what you see is the very first season it came out, people took one or two. I mean, nobody was using it really because they didn't really understand how to do it. But now 93 3-point shots in a game is, it's a lot, but it's not unheard of. Is there a chance that this is ruining the sport in any way, shape, or form? Daniel, we'll start with you.
No, I don't think so. As a fan of the Celtics, who in last year's playoffs and for quite a while, they always just chuck up threes instead of driving to the basket. It's a little irritating now and then when they do that. But also, it's nowadays sports. Everything is basically analytics. And analytically, This is not hard math. 3 is greater than 2. And the percentages are almost the exact same, other than that's why you barely see mid-range shots anymore. All the people who made their careers with mid-range shots, they're gone because they stepped back a little bit. DeRozan is being forced to do that. Aldridge was being forced to do that. 2 signature mid-range people don't do it anymore. Tatum, who he did that all the time his rookie year, he's stepped back a little bit and has become a deficient 3-point shooter. And it goes like with baseball. Some people like to hit home runs back in the days. Not a lot of people did. And now everyone's home run or strikeout. It's the new analytic that everyone likes to see. And also, it has a lot to do with Steph Curry and that when he became the star of the NBA and started chucking up those threes, and you see people like Trae Young be like, whoa, I could do that too. And LeBron even does it now every once in a while. So is it bad for the game? No. But obviously, as a fan of the team, if they start missing a lot, that's when you get angry and say drive to the basket. But
no, it's a great point. I love what you brought up about baseball. I'm gonna piggyback on that a little bit, but I'm gonna give Nick his chance. What do you think, Nick? Is the 3-point shot ruining the NBA?
ruining is a very strong word.
That's fair.
And it takes out some parts, you could say, physicality and defense, basically. But I don't know. I don't think it's ruined NBA because the great ones are going to be great.
Great point.
Regardless. So have LeBron. He's not gonna, chuck up 10 a game because he knows his play style, and it's entertaining. And 3, of course, 3 is greater than 2, and it's about points. And in today's game, you have to score more than the other team, and it's an offensive game. Now in the 80s and the 90s, it was about you got to hold that team to under 100 and you win. But now you have to score at least 120 and 20, and those are half our threes.
Yeah,
it's just change, and everything's changing, and Curry is the reason all of this has changed. 100%. And I think I don't think it's ruining is a very strong word. I wouldn't say it's ruining.
Yeah, I can't. I agree. Ruining is a really wrong word, and I think it's kind of a dumb argument, right? First off, let me do while y'all were talking, I did the math, and I can confirm 3 is absolutely greater than 2. I crunched the numbers a few times, so you're absolutely right. Daniel, you brought up baseball. Another thing that you don't see in baseball anymore is stolen bases. For the same reason, analytically, there isn't a great advantage to taking that extra base. Second to third is good. First to second, not as good. And there's a great risk that you got an out. You only got 3 of those. So you don't see people stealing bases like they did. The game, analytics changed. I'm going to put myself up here. Boom. Analytics changed everything in every sport. I'm sure of it. I don't watch enough hockey to know. But yeah, definitely in baseball and in basketball. And Nick, you're absolutely right. And I love what you started with, ruining the game. I mean, come on. It's not ruining the game. It's changing the game. There's no doubt about it. If you watch 80s basketball, everything was compact. Everything. Driving to the hoop was really hard because there was 2 or 3 bigs down there. Today, the game is spread out, right? You got usually one guy down low, all the other 4. Sometimes it's all 5, but everybody's out by the 3-point line because they're waiting to hoist up that 3, and they can make it, man. That's just the way the game is. It's not ruined. It's just changed. So greit point. All right, let's talk MVP contenders. What's that?
I said, this your time, huh? I knew you was waiting on this.
Oh yeah. No, I'm excited about this one because a lot of people have kind of, I've heard 2 things. I've heard people say it's over, it's Embiid, and you can make a great case for Embiid. A lot of people say, no, man, it's Jokic, and there's a lot of players in the running. So I had some fun with it. I'll start, and then, just to kind of switch things up again, and then, we'll go around to you guys and get your thoughts. So first thing I did when I started looking at this is I went and looked back at the last 10 MVPs because I'm looking for some consistency. I'm an analytical guy, admittedly. I love spreadsheets. I love numbers. I like things that make sense. And the MVP doesn't make sense. It's not quantifiable. It's totally subjective, right? But when you look for some hints as to what was consistent, this is one thing I found, which I thought was kind of interesting. The winning percentage for the MVP's teams over the last 10 years have averaged about 750, right? 75%. They win 75% of their games. Giannis, Harden, Westbrook, or not Westbrook, he's the exception. I'll get to that in a minute. Curry, Durant, LeBron, and Derrick Rose. All their teams won over 75% of their games. Westbrook was the one exception. He came in just winning a little over half, 57%, which is, odd. But he had an exceptional year, so they gave it to him. And that's where it kind of gets subjective. There's always these weird one-offs. But if you look at the last 10 years, 75% was the barrier. Your team had to win 75% of its games to have a really good shot at the MVP. And then I looked at the teams this year, who's winning 75% of the games. Now, admittedly, this is last week. I think it might have changed a little bit because, again, I prepped all this for last week, and then I had these technical difficulties. But the only two teams that are playing 75%, 750 or above are the Jazz and the Lakers. That's it. The Clippers are at 70, or at least they were again a week ago. So if you draw the line right there, even if you draw the line at 70, the MVP candidate has got to come from LA or Utah, right? The Sixers are well below it. They're 67%, right? As great as Embiid is, I should have got the Nuggets. I didn't even get the Nuggets, but they're not having a great season. They're probably absolutely below 67%. So to me, how can you be the MVP? How can you be the best player? Because that's kind of what it is. And then this is where it gets subjective, right? What does it really mean? But generally, we think of the MVP as the best player in the NBA. How can you be the best player in the NBA and not get your team to win, 3 out of 4 games? And I think that's a problem. And if you look at that and you think, okay, it's going to be LA or Utah, it limits your choices. And I don't know that any one of those players on either one of those teams has a strong argument. I'll leave it there. I'll give you guys your thoughts, and then what I want to do is kind of like we said, I want to talk about who you think are the top 2 or 3 MVP candidates. But give me your thoughts on what I just said, and really the question is this: what do you think the MVP is? Is it the best player in the league? Is it the guy who scores the most points? Is it the guy who is the best player on the best team? What is it? Daniel, go ahead, man.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have not been a fan of the MVP voting for quite a while in the NBA. I think it's a joke. I think it's literally it's almost kind of what your point was. It's almost 90% of the time the best player on the best team. And I don't like that. Like, the word MVP is most valuable player. And there are a bunch of people out there who are leading these horrible teams to great records. Yes, it's not the best record in the league, but they're making the playoffs with a bunch of role players or sometimes G League players. And those guys never get votes, but the person who's averaging like 24, 4, and 8 or something on a good team is winning MVP, and that should not be happening. I just don't like the MVP voting, to be honest with you. It's the media is just like biased, and it's literally whoever's the best player on the best team. That's all I got to say about it. I don't like it.
Okay, I agree with you. Calm down, man. You're angry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right, Nick, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm with him. I don't like it either. I think it's it's confusing at best. Like,
right.
I don't think you can be the MVP if 2 top 10 people on the same team. I don't think you can, gauge how valuable that player is. And I don't understand it. I think it should, I'm not gonna say it should be taken off, but I think it needs some tutoring. It needs something has to happen. I think this award is just a popularity contest. To be honest with you.
100%. It's always been that way. You guys, you're right on, and you kind of, I think we all kind of agree. It's a bit of a subjective vote. It's a popularity contest, and I think we need to understand how to define it, before we can pick an MVP, right? What does it mean to you guys? It's weird. I do want to hold our feet to the fire, though, because as much as we don't particularly like the award, it's going to be granted. And, Nick, I know you and I, we had talked, in our group chat about writing an article about who the candidates are for MVP and most improved player and everything else. So we are going to be writing that article. It'll be out probably within the week. I'm not sure, but because we are going to make our picks, I wanted to kind of do that here now. So this is the thought process I went into when I kind of decided who I'm picking. And you know what? I'm not even. I originally I thought let's do the top three. I'm just gonna give you my guy, and that's it. And you guys can do the same. All right. First off, the guy has got to come from one of the LA teams or the Jazz team, because everybody else just doesn't have enough wins to really justify it. The only player who might sneak in there is Embiid, because he's having a pretty ridiculous year. Dame, too, is having a pretty amazing year. Those would probably be the only two guys. But I'm going to pick somebody from Utah or LA so far. Now, this is what's interesting. The leader in points right now is Embiid, almost 30, 29.4. The leader in rebounds, Gobert, 13. The leader in steals, Kawhi. The leader in assists, Jokic. The leader in blocks, Gobert. He's the only guy who shows up twice. But the best shooter in the league, this really shocked me. Now, I'm not talking field goal percentage. Field goal percentage is cheap, because for years, DeAndre Jordan led the league in field goal percentage because he basically just laid up things, right? That's all. He never shot from outside the paint. So field goal percentage means nothing. But effective field goal percentage means everything, because they give more value to a three-point shot because it's a harder shot to make. The leader in effective field goal in the NBA, I don't know if you guys would guess it if I told you. I was surprised to find it, but it's Paul George shooting 62%, which is kind of surprising to me. So when I look at that and I think, okay, my guy has got to be a Laker, a Clipper, a Jazz. The only people on this list that fall into that category are Rudy Gobert or Kawhi or Paul George. So therefore, my MVP pick, Donovan Mitchell. Forget the list. I don't even care. What do you got, Daniel? Pick a guy.
It's Damian Lillard, and wow. I kind of hinted at that when I was talking about the MVP award. He is without two of his top three players, and Nurkic and McCollum, who are humongous parts of that team, and they are currently fourth. I believe they were trailing at halftime, but if they win today, they're back to they're still fourth. Whatever. They're in the top of the Western Conference, and they've not had cheap wins. They've won some good games. Lillard's hit some buzzer beaters. Yeah. This just goes to my point of he is doing a lot with a little. I am absolutely stunned. He is not an all-star starter. Even Luka Doncic himself. So it's a little bit ridiculous. But he's the MVP for me. Will he win MVP? No chance. It's going to be LeBron or Embiid. I'm fairly certain of that. But he should be MVP.
Couldn't agree with you more. And this is about who should be, not who will be. Because you're right. It'll be LeBron. It'll be Embiid if things ended today. Nick, who you got? Who you think is your should be MVP?
He stole my shine. I think it's Damian.
Right.
I think it's Damian Lillard because, again, he's playing without two of the top three players on that team. He's playing with Gary Trent, and that's his second option. Is Gary Trent, who is a good player. I don't want to say it, but Dame has carried them on his back, and that is the definition of he's the most valuable. And without him, even if they have CJ Yusuf, without him, they're not going anywhere. And without them, he's carrying them to the playoffs in a tough conference. So yeah, right now, of course, he's not going to win it, but I think it should be him too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I almost kind of feel like the NBA owes him for picking, Luka over him. It's illogical. But yeah, no, great point, great pick. I'll stick with Donovan just because he was amazing yesterday. He showed me some great things. But I mean, to Daniel's point, he's right now the best player on the best team. So that kind of devalues it a little bit.
Can I make a humble brag real quick?
Please.
As you know, I wrote an article a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago to be exact, and I wrote an article based on who will be all-stars and who should be all-stars.
Yeah.
I was 9 of 10. 9 of 10. I missed because I didn't think they'd vote in Bradley Beal. Last year he got extremely disrespected, and that's the only one I missed. I thought Harden would get in over him, but I was 9 of 10 for that.
All right. And I'm sorry, where was the humble part? I missed that. I saw the brag, but I didn't get the humble. No, you're right. Well done. Nick, you got something?
Yeah, just quickly. And that's a tough part too. See, Bradley is the top. He scores what 32 a game, but his team is trash. And I can't blame him for that though. It's just I don't know how to judge that. Like he's a great player, but they tell me that if he's that great, they should be at least in the playoffs. And I'm like, I mean, I can't really say anything. So it's kind of hard to, but hopefully he gets traded to somewhere he can play playoff basketball because his talents are being wasted. But you know.
And this is a guy from DC, so I think that carries a lot more weight with me. But yeah, for sure, great points, Daniel. I think you absolutely need a follow-up article or at least a tweet. Man, 9 to 10 is impressive. Well done. All right, last thing, and we'll keep this one kind of short. We like to keep these about 20, 30 minutes. We're almost into 40, but that's all right. It's been great conversation. Last question I have is around the All-Star game. There was some controversy about it. Originally, 2 weeks ago, it was not going to be played. If you went to the NBA website, it said that the 2021 NBA game was going to be played in 2024. They just weren't going to do it. Now, all of a sudden, there was an about face, Adam Silver saying it's the right thing to do. We got to play the game. LeBron said, he doesn't want to do it. He's not excited about it. CP said the same thing. And I'll be honest. This is the question. Let me ask it, and then I'll let you guys answer it. Are you excited to watch the NBA in an arena where there will likely be no fans or just a smattering of fans like we've seen so far, in the middle of just kind of exiting, God willing, a pandemic? Do you think the NBA needed this game in any way, shape, or form? Daniel, what do you think?
Money speaks volume. This is what it's all about. They deny it. It's just false. This is all about money, all about TV contracts, whatever. All the players, although when the players say they don't want to play, the Players Association and the NBA did agree to this. It wasn't just the NBA saying, hey, you're playing an All-Star game. The Players Association agreed. Yep. Now, will I watch it? Definitely, because it's going to be fun. The slam dunk, the skills, all of that they're going to have. But should it be played? Not at all. I think it's a horrible idea. You had these two, one breakout and then one contract tracing amongst the Spurs and Hornets. Right. And that's kind of a sign, like, why are you going through with this? These people can't go out of their house currently. So why would they travel all the way to Georgia, where they're definitely probably not their house, and they have these strict rules just to play for one game? Then they got to come all the way back to their home state, and they got to stay quarantined for a couple of days, make sure they don't spread it amongst their teammates. It's just a huge health risk. And I get like money is a big factor, but at one point, is it like your lives over like just a couple of dollars? I mean, it's not a couple of dollars, but I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of the idea, but I'm definitely going to watch. But
All right. I got a lot to say about that, but I'm going to zip it right now. Nick, what do you got, man? What are your thoughts on it?
Of course, I'm going to watch. It's the All-Star game, but should it be played? Absolutely not. We're in a pandemic. Contact tracing has been going on basically through every team. Yeah. Every team has had a player, 2, 3, at least 2 players who have had a time where they have gone out with COVID. And I think if you get the best players and and one of those 22, 24 has COVID, the league just might shut down.
Can you imagine?
And if LeBron says I'm not excited to play the All-Star game, you shouldn't play.
Yeah.
That's and it's just like it's a huge health risk. I know this is all about the cash because I think last year they lost a ton of revenue, but no, this is a horrible idea.
Yeah, you guys stole all the thunder. You're absolutely right, Nick. I'm gonna piggyback on your story by telling you something because it reminded me of this, and I hate to kind of speak this into existence, but years ago, a long time ago, kind of date me a little bit, I guess. But Eddie Murphy was at the Grammys and he made a joke, and I don't know why I remember this, and I just thought it was so hilarious. And he was just commenting about how all of the greatest stars in music were there at the Grammys. And he made a joke that, if there's a bomb goes off and everybody here dies, the biggest star, the biggest recording artist will be Glenn Campbell, who at the time was not a particularly big name and kind of still isn't. It was a funny joke. I know it didn't stand the test of time, but this is what I'm thinking, Nick, based on what you said. If, and I hate to say it, but if the NBA has an issue in the All-Star game, those are the greatest players in the NBA. And Daniel mentioned, having to quarantine. If there is an outbreak there, you're shutting down the NBA at that point. Then all of a sudden the best player in the NBA is Alex Caruso or something. It's just too risky. And I'm like you, and maybe we need to acknowledge the hypocrisy of it because we are going to watch. Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should send a message. But I know I'm gonna. So what are you gonna do? Go ahead.
I have two. One is I can't even see the dunk contest with no fans.
Yeah.
Like, how's that gonna look? And two, the NBA is just risking the safety of its players for revenue. I think KD. I think it was a game on TNT. They played Toronto, right? And he was cleared. Then he was pulled out. He was cleared again. Then he was pulled out. And it's just like this is a TNT game, prime time. Two teams in the East, even though Toronto is kind of, but it's Kyrie, KD, and James Harden. That is a primetime game, and if KD isn't playing, maybe some turn it off, and they understand that 100%, but it's like you can't do that because it's just wrong. You have to keep them COVID free, so you don't have to cancel this NBA once.
You're right. I don't even know what to say. It's generally, I'm so proud of the NBA and Adam Silver. When you think of what they did last season, right? When they created the bubble, it wasn't on a whim, but it was quick. the turnaround was quick. And they had these guidelines, and they sent out the procedures. They had these rules. Well, man, that was impressive. I mean, they saved the season, and they gave us, fans of the game that were sitting at home scared about the virus and, missing the game. They gave us something, they entertained us. And I was so proud, honestly, of the NBA as an organization. They did it right. And for all of that good, I think this is a fumble, man. This is a turnover. This is a mistake. But I'll watch. What are you gonna do? All right, man. That's it. That's the show. We went a little longer than usual, but great conversation as always. I appreciate it. Jacob was going to join us. I think he got in a little too late from work. But hopefully he can join us another time. We really absolutely want to expand this, make it a little, bring in as many more people, different voices, different opinions. That's what keeps it fun, man. Talking basketball with basketball people is fun. And that's what we do. We're Peach Basket. We're the voice of the fan. We're a site dedicated to covering the NBA. And this is Run It Back, the NBA Week in Review. We'll be back next Saturday, about the same time. We might make some adjustments. It's really late for Nick, I know. So thank you for staying up late with us. We might make some adjustments. Was that?
It's 12 a.m. over here.
I know, man. I said sorry.
You good.
We might move it. We as we grow, we're gonna have to make some adjustments. Daniel knows one time we had Tony on here calling in from Africa. It was 4 a.m. for him.
Wow.
So yeah. So that was something. So we'll make some adjustments as we go, but we will absolutely do this consistently throughout the NBA season on Saturday night. Thanks again. We'll see you again next week for Run It Back NBA Week in Review.